Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're so excited to host today's conversation with a proud Loyola SOC alumna, Cara Walsh. She is a paid social media manager at Starcom currently and a 2020 graduate of our PR, Advertising, and Applied Communication program. And most recently, the 2025 Queen of Chicago St. Patrick's Day Parade. From her time as a campus tour guide and a Chi Omega member to her career in public affairs and marketing, Cara represents exactly what it means to be a dynamic, purpose-driven professional in today's media world. As we celebrate Women's History Month and reflect on the power of education, technology, and public service, we're honored to learn from her story and spotlight her impact. Yeah. So let's dive in.
Thank you for such a great intro, Ava. Oh my gosh.
You're now working at Starcom and just served as the queen of the 2025 St. Patrick's Day Parade. Such exciting accomplishments, by the way. But let's rewind a bit. So what initially drew you to Loyola and to choose the major that you chose?
Great question. Oh my God. I went to high school here downtown in the city. So I grew up in a really small town out in the suburbs of Chicago. And I knew I didn't want to do that when I went to college. Right. I was like, I want to be in a city. I went to St. Ignatius College Prep, and I loved being in a Jesuit community in the city. It was really dynamic and it was really diverse. And I really appreciated that compared to the small town I grew up in, which I loved, but I wanted something different. And truly what drew me to Loyola was their study abroad program. The amount of support here because I came in undecided, so I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. But what I did know at the ripe age of 18 was that I wanted to go study abroad. And the support I had from that community there on the Northside campus to fulfill that dream, and my parents as well. I went to the Melbourne, Australia campus, Deakin University, and I was there for 6 months, and I'm still friends with the people I went over there with because we made such lifelong friendships, and I don't think I would have done that or gotten that support or had the guts to do it if I didn't choose Loyola. So
it's really nice to hear about that, because I can agree with like the independency, knowing your family's there, but still you got this. So you were really deeply involved on campus as a tour guide, a Chi Omega member, safety ambassador, and even the secretary to the vice president's office. So how did these experiences shape your confidence, communication style, and career path?
Oh, great question. Kind of a little bit of everything. I think if there are any other college kids listening or even high school people listening, you just have to get involved in everything. I think that's best advice for life when it even comes to your career. Just get involved. Just say yes. You never know what can come from it. You could do it for a semester and then you could end up doing it for years to come. You don't know. So I just kind of said yes to everything that came my way. And I made a lot of really good connections from it. And I think that's the biggest takeaway I took from all these different roles. But I loved, being a campus safety ambassador was the most random thing when I was 20. I'd be walking around this campus with a walkie-talkie. What was I going to do to stop anything? To then being the secretary for the vice president, where I was dealing with really critical situations. And I got to really see that from my own eyes. And then I started working advertising and PR, and a lot of that stuff started coming back to me. And then event planning as well, and then how much effort is put into graduation and all these things. And I was just all these roles that didn't make sense now as I'm getting older, clear as day. So I would just say, if you're listening, get involved, do whatever you want. It'll all make sense down the road eventually.
You mentioned that you were undecided at first. So what made you realize what you wanted to do? Did you have a little haha moment where you're like, oh, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to head into in terms of your professional career?
I would say people always have said and told me, do what you love and it's not a job. And I was like, well, I was really starting to think about, what do I love? I loved business. I loved both my parents were in business. There was no way I could have done healthcare because I just couldn't get past chemistry at all.
Same.
So yeah. I was like, there's no way I would love to be a nurse. I would love to care for others, but I just couldn't do cell regeneration. So I was like, no way for that. And I loved taking pictures. I loved connecting with people online. I loved planning events. I loved hosting events. So I kind of took all those things and realized that there was a path within the communications field for that. And what really drew me is I actually was going to go to a different university. This is kind of back to your first question. And I was only one of 10 kids in the US to get accepted into the College of Arts of London.
Wow.
And I was going to go for fashion. And I loved fashion. Like in high school, I was on Nordstrom's fashion board as a young girl. So I was able to help pick the collections at the time. And then I realized that if you go to school abroad, you kind of have to like pay up front, and then was like, there's no way I could do that. So I came to Loyola. I got a great scholarship here, and my parents offered really great advice. Since Loyola didn't have a fashion program, they were like, why don't you do something that would be in the fashion industry? So I was thinking social media, I was thinking advertising, like you walk down Oak Street, I could have done any one of those ads. So that was kind of the inspiration there. I was like, oh, I can get into the fashion world through this. And after that, I kind of just took any opportunity I saw with work, and maybe I will get in the fashion industry one day. But right now, I'm very happy in the social media agency world, and I could see you guys really liking it too.
That's amazing. And honestly, like we were saying, you definitely have lived a million lives. Like we were, researching and learning more about you, and we were already so impressed. And now dropping all of this, like Nordstrom, fashion, everything, it's truly amazing. And I'm sure we're going to discover more during this interview. Like I'm sure something crazy is going to drop in a very casual tone, but we're excited for it for sure.
Yeah, like with all of that, with the million lives you have lived, like in college, like how did you balance all of that? And like, do you have any advice for like kind of people going through the same situation with like just living a million lives too? Yeah.
Get a planner. Buy a planner, use your calendar app on your phone, prioritize your time, because in order to be able to do everything, you do have to give yourself grace and you have to give yourself time. But I would have to say, like, be organized and be open. So you can say yes to everything, but you won't be able to show up to everything unless you have it organized out. So I'm very meticulous with like my organizing and, kind of keeping things together where we can. But then that allows me to be creative in the roles when I do have free time, or when I do give myself the space to, attend an art class or to attend a work event and have that time to really let go and let the mind go. Even if you block time to just be like, hey, workout here, mental block here. Like I block time to like check in on the latest trends, like something like that, just to remind myself to tap in, Yeah. So best advice there is, kind of organize your day as best you can.
Do you have like a favorite planner you use, or like, how do you like going about your calendar? Because I feel like some people are like strictly like, I have to write it down, or like some people are like, I have to use like Google Calendar.
Okay,
like,
good question. Do
you have like a specific one you like to use?
I used to be pen to paper, but to be quite honest, in the work field now, you can't really do that. You got to be electronic. So Google Calendar for my personal life, and then my work calendar is, we use the Microsoft Suite, which, no offense to Microsoft, is just not my favorite yet. Definitely start there. And then Asana or Monday.com for work priorities. I love Monday.com because you can actually track the amount of time you spend on things. So that's really good if you're working on a project, especially if you start getting paid for something like a commissionable work. You could say, hey, this actually took me 15 hours and I only charged you for 10. Like, we need to talk about this and, kind of find a middle ground or something. So it is a really good tool for that too.
Like, so with like your public affairs role at Acero, did you have any like key takeaways or main things you learned with just like the city of Chicago, or learn a new understanding about like education throughout it?
I think, definitely with education and our public school system, that was super interesting. As I went to public school, but in the suburbs, it's a completely different ballgame than here in the city, with serving hundreds, thousands of people, children. I think the most important thing I learned, and that's still true today, is that Chicago is tough and Chicago is amazing, and Chicago will have Chicago's back no matter what. And I'm proud to say that I worked for the public school system here, and I'm proud to say that I helped represent and raise Latinx voices here in our great city. It really did influence my career and kind of what I wanted to pursue and the work I wanted to do. And I still think about the people I worked with there and how they worked and how they held themselves. And through all the tough times, they had a good attitude and they knew their purpose and they knew their mission, and they really stuck to that. And that's continued to stay with me throughout all of my roles. I would say to anyone that's looking to get involved in like sort of the public affairs, public relations, marketing field, start at your government level. They're always hiring and they're always looking for young people to come in and just like have a fresh perspective on these things that have been going on for years, hundreds of years in our government. And so I got really into politics, which I wasn't expecting, and kind of the history of everything. But I solely remained focused on becoming a marketing expert as well. So it was like kind of the dance there, trying to balance both. And I would just say, like, ask questions, meet for coffee with people you didn't think that you would, because you can learn a lot of really good things. And while I don't work in that field anymore, it still stays with me. And it kind of, when things are on the news, I'm better educated on those things. But it was really special at such a young age to work at a company that you're making a huge difference at. Because now I work in a massive agency and I don't really know if every single thing I do is making the same impact. But I know it's really exciting work. Right. Every place you go to, you're going to experience different things. And it's I think starting your career at a certain level and then making your way to a different one, there's no good or bad way of doing it. It's just fun to be in that dynamic field and carry your experiences on from one to the next. Then I worked in real estate for a hot second as the head of marketing for a boutique firm here in Chicago. And that was super interesting to go there from working in education, because education was like, you're looking for every dollar. And then in real estate, it was such a glamorous lifestyle. Right. And it was fun to look up at all these buildings that I was a little girl and, oh my God, who lives there? And then I was like in the buildings and we were selling them and it was amazing. And then after that, I had always wanted to go to Europe. That was like, when I graduated college, I was like, I'm going to go backpacking in Europe. Like, that was my thing. But obviously, it was the pandemic. No one was leaving their neighborhood at that point. So in 2023, I started my own kind of marketing firm, and I went to Europe and I worked remotely there for 6 months because that was all my parents would let me go for. And even though I was 25 at the time, I still answered to my parents. And I lived in Ireland for 3 months, and then I lived in London for 2 months, and I lived in Paris for 1 month. And I got to continue excelling in my career, diversifying my career, but also check off a personal dream of mine. It was amazing. So, and then I came back to the US and I was still working remotely, and I found a job at Starcom, and I've been there since. So amazing. Kind of full circle there for you guys.
Amazing. And as we were saying, the impressiveness continues and all the amazing things that you've done continues.
There's going to be more.
It's so cool. And I love it that you just take every opportunity and make it happen. I think a lot of people say, I really want to do this, I really want to do that, but they don't actually do it. So It's so inspiring and amazing to hear you say that. Maybe it obviously is inspiring us, but I'm sure a lot of other people listening, especially students who are in this stage right now, that they are like, should we go abroad? Should we do this? Should we do that? So it's really awesome to be able to do it all. And kind of speaking on doing it all, you've had a lot of different experiences, a really diverse professional background. So I want to ask you, has there been like a skill that has been consistent throughout, from real estate to nonprofit to marketing, everything? Has there been a specific skill that has helped you throughout all these like careers that you've had so far?
Yeah, I would say it's not one hard skill. All the skills that are truly matter at the end of the day are your soft skills.
Totally.
Can you communicate to someone? Can you follow up? Can you keep your emotions in check? All those. Are you organized? Do you show up on time? Those things that can't be taught. Those things, you just have them, or you don't, or you have them, you got to work really hard to bring them out some days, Monday through Friday. Anything that comes with the meta UI, or comes with how to draft an email, or comes with, the changes at TikTok, that can all be learned. All of that can be learned, and you can learn it from a really good mentor if you have it. But communicating effectively and on the right timing, all of that, if you have that, you'll be golden, and you can go far in life with that. It's great to be certified in Hootsuite, Sprout Social, something like that. But if you can't share that in a humble and knowledgeable way, no one will want to hire you, you know? So practice your soft skills, and I don't mean to be harsh, but those are so important and they will carry you so far.
Yeah, we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about that beautiful crown and sash that you're wearing. And, you recently were crowned the queen of the 2025 Chicago St. Patrick's Day Parade. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How did that opportunity came about, and what made you say yes to this opportunity and this role?
Oh, Bora, it's a funny story.
Can't wait to hear it.
So they have over 50 years of queens. Like, I am just a small needle in a big haystack here. So for context, Local Plumbers 130 has been putting on the parade for the iconic Chicago parade for the last 70 years. So it has been a milestone celebration this year. And Local Plumbers 130 does so much important work for our city. And honestly, representing the men and women that work for that institution is the greatest honor of all time. My Aunt Mary, she now goes by Queen Aunt.
Oh, I love that.
That's her new title, self-titled. She always kind of like hyper fixated on one woman in our family to do the competition every single year.
Oh.
All her daughters did it. All my cousins have done it. All my sisters have done it. And in 2022 was my first year I did it. Or 2024 was my first year I did it. And I got cut in the final round. So there were about 100 women that showed up that day, and I made it to the top 15.
Amazing.
And kind of when you make it that far, they're like, you just got to come back the next year. They were like, you're top tier. Like, we couldn't get you in this year. You got to try again next year. So I was hemming and hawing. Am I going to do it? Am I going to do it? And I was just like, I might as well. You know, I had a fun time last year. I met some really good girls. And I was really excited to see them again because I knew they were doing the competition. So I came back from Europe, and that was like something that really diversified me against all the competition. They were like, what do you do? And I was like, well, I just got back from France. They were like, what were you doing in France? I was like, I started my own company. And they were like, what are you doing? Like, it really made me stand out. So again, kind of going back to like, everything happens for a reason, you know? So I did the competition in 2024, and I got on the court. So there's one queen and there's 5 court members. And being on the court was a blast because you kind of show up and there's no expectations. Right? You don't have to give any speeches, anything like that. So I was very happy to be on the court and kind of just absorb the year. And I had a lovely queen. Her name was Queen Grace O'Connor, and she was the queen of the 69th annual Chicago St. Patrick's Day Parade. And I learned a lot from her. And you kind of have to accept that mentors come in and out of your life as quickly and as like, you probably don't even want them to come as quickly as they do or leave as quickly as they do, but they do, and you have to absorb the knowledge when you can. And she was just an amazing queen. And so this year I went back to the competition and I became queen. And I was like, well, thank goodness I had such a good role model because I have to be prepared for this role. And I hope I'm doing half the amount of, grace and honor that she gave this role. So I'm very happy and very, very honored to be this. This is not just for me, but for my entire family, honestly.
For that day, like with just so much like work going behind it, so much like time build up, and like the day you finally got to like march in the parade, like how did that like feel for you? What was that like for you, like professionally even? Like just what was going through your head that day?
Gosh. I don't even think it was probably like, where's water and like my next sandwich? Like
That's so real.
It was survival. We've been serving in this role since January, but the 2 weeks leading up to the parade is like the big leagues. It's like the Super Bowl. Like that's the busy time. We had like 26 events in those 2 weeks. And, at those events, it's all talking and networking and sharing the message and the celebration, too, of our Irish heritage. I'm very proud to be Irish. Both my grandparents immigrated from Ireland to the U.S., and my dad is first generation Irish American. Like, I'm very proud of my roots. And to share that with so many people in Chicago was such an honor to attend all these events and shake hands with the governor, the mayor, the prime minister of Ireland. Like, I never thought that me, a 27-year-old, would be in the room with these people. So I think I was just in constant awe for 2 weeks. And the come down from that has been quite intense, honestly, to like come back to my normal life and like go to a grocery store and like be on the L. Like, it's a very surreal and humble moment. But above all, it was just the most amazing celebration. And I have to say the best part of it all was having my family there, because I had like 52 family members at the parade. I had family fly in from Texas, New York, drive in from Wisconsin. My parents flew in from Florida. Like, they were the highlight of my day. Seeing them on the corner of like Columbus and Balboa at the parade was like the biggest cup of coffee you could have ever had in your entire life. It's like, my people.
I
Like,
love that.
they had these shirts made. They had little flags with my face on them. Like, all these little things that I had no idea were happening in the background just made the day so special, honestly.
The
So.
support was unreal. I love that. It's just makes everything so much better. I love
Yeah.
that. That's amazing. And we spoke a little bit about this off camera. You were telling us about your pin and its meaning, and how this year the theme is trades, technology, and education. And I want to ask, how does that theme relate to you personally? Whether that is, your professional background, how has this theme kind of resonated with you, especially in social media?
Yeah, great question, Bora. The theme is very close to my heart. So, starting with trades, both my grandparents were trades workers. My grandpa sadly passed away when my dad was 16, and my grandma in the 1960s had to find a job. That was a time when women weren't really working or finding stable work. And she had 5 kids with her husband, and she's now a widow, and she had 5 different dreams to support from them. And I give all credits to the matriarch of our family. She and my grandfather came over from Ireland in like the 1940s, and they created their life here in Chicago. And my grandma actually found work at Local 726, which at the time handled streets and sanitation. And she worked there for over 35 years and ended up retiring there and had a beautiful life. And the people and the support from that community allowed my dad and his brothers and his sisters to all have fabulous careers and fabulous families to this day. And it's all credit to the community, That's kind of what we've talked about here today, is like Chicago always has your back, and it's a great city to live in. And it's a tough city, but we are also tough human beings. Like, my grandma is one of the toughest people I've ever met, but she's so tender and so cute and petite, you would never know. But she really led the charge for our family, and it was all thanks to her local and all the locals here in Chicago. We're very lucky to have the strong backs of these men and women that uphold this city, especially those at Local Plumbers 130. I've seen it with my own eyes, and it's an honor to represent them. Education is another theme. Well, here we are at Loyola University Chicago. Right. I'm Chicago educated through and through, Jesuit Catholic education. I went to St. Ignatius College Prep for high school, which was a fantastic school. And I came here to Loyola and received a fabulous education from their School of Communications and their business school as well. And those lessons and those opportunities have helped me so much day in, day out, and have launched my career, honestly. So I think one of the best things is that, some of our professors here, these adjuncts here, some people now are trying to get jobs from them, and they were your professors, Like, I'm still friends with a lot of my professors, and they're working at Publicis. They're working at Starcom or, Xena or Edelman, all these amazing companies. And I was like, oh, that was my, communications teacher, So it's a fabulous, fabulous school. And I'm very proud to be a Blur, for sure. And then technology. I mean, we work in communications, we work in marketing, we work in the modern day social media roles. So always staying up to date with the trends, and most importantly, doing it ethically and doing it in what ways we can to protect our brands and, the things we care about.
You are you're a beauty queen. You are
that's stretch.
Like, you've done so many things. You've traveled, you've explored, you've seen the world in so many different lenses. You've worked in so many different professions. And I want to ask, like, what do you want to say to, especially women, since we're also in the Women's History Month, and it's there's so many women who want to work in education, leadership, marketing, communication. What legacy? What would you say to them?
I feel like there are like a few different points I would like to hit there, but I think the biggest one of all is kindness. There is just like so much in this world to absorb, so many different emotions, but if if I'm one person and all I can do is just affect the people in this room or affect the people in a classroom or affect the people at work, I'd rather it be through like kindness and positivity than anything else. And so no matter what you do in life, if you lead with that front foot and a positive mindset, there's absolutely no way anything but goodness is going to come out of it. I'm a firm believer in that, whether I was traveling by myself in Paris, France, or if I'm here in Chicago, Illinois with my family. It's just leading with that front foot. That's the legacy I would love to leave with.
Thank you so much for just everything you've shared with us today. We're so blessed and honored and excited to have had you here with us today. And I want to end with some closing remarks here. If there's anything else you'd like to share before we kind of wrap it up.
I just want to say thank you, guys. This was so nice.
It was so nice meeting you.
It feels like full circle to come back to Loyola and to walk down these streets. And I'm so honored where I came from. So thank you for inviting me to come back here and kind of share the messages that I tried to today. And if anyone is listening, just go out there and do it. Whatever you think you can do. And what the things you think you can't do, you probably can. So give them a try. So thank you for having me, Bora and Ava.
Thank you so much for being
coming.
here.